Forget everything you think you know about global power. We're about to dive into a real-life chess match where the stakes are so high they're literally rewriting the rules of who's in charge. Let's get into it.
440%. No, that is not a new crypto coin going to the moon. That is the insane price spike for a metal that the US military absolutely positively cannot function without. And why? Because China is playing a game of geopolitical chicken with the Pentagon. And you know what? It really looks like China is winning.
So how did the world's biggest superpower end up backed into a corner like this? Well, it all comes down to a brilliant and kind of devastating trap that China just sprung on everyone. Okay, quick timeout, because you need to know what this stuff is. Rare earth metals. It sounds like something from a Marvel movie, right? The unobtainium. And it might as well be. This is the secret sauce, the magic ingredient in America's entire high-tech military. We're talking jet engines, guided missiles, all the little microchips that make things go boom. Without this stuff, a $1 billion F-35 is just a very, very pointy and expensive lawn ornament.
And here's where it gets really clever. China pulled off a classic magic trick, a total bait and switch. In October, they made a huge scene, announcing a big, scary, comprehensive ban. The US freaked out, rushed to negotiate, and they got China to back down. High fives all around in Washington. They thought they'd won. But they were looking at the wrong hand, because China quietly kept the first ban, the much more surgical and critical one from April, in place. The main tap was never, ever turned back on. It was a complete Jedi mind trick.
And this is the result. You've got a situation where America's military supply chain is being slowly choked out, while over in China the factories have gone to plaid. We're talking ludicrous speed. And that right there shows you what the real game is. It's not about who has the most weapons today, it's about who can build them tomorrow.
So you look at a chart like this, right? Amphibious assault ships. The US has 9, China has 5. Easy win for the US? Case closed? Nope, not even close. That number is hiding the real story. And this is the real story. How long does it take to build one of these monsters? For China, just 24 months. 2 years. They are pumping these things out like they're making iPhones. Their production lines just don't stop. Meanwhile, America's are, well, they're getting squeezed.
So it begs the question, what do you do? What's your plan B when your supply lines are cut and your biggest rival is outbuilding you at a terrifying pace? You get desperate. And desperate people make very, very risky moves.
And that brings us to Act 2, America's Risky Gambit. This plan has a code name, Southern Spear, and it involves turning America's full attention south to a place that's already on the edge.
The target is Venezuela. And the goal is as simple as it is dangerous. Start a conflict to seize control of its absolutely massive oil reserves. Yep, you heard that right.
So why Venezuela? Why right now? Well, it's a huge gamble to solve 3 problems at once. First, it's a way to counter Russia potentially weaponizing its own oil. Second, it's a backup plan in case things in the Middle East get even crazier. And third, it's a raw power play to try and put America back in charge of global energy. They're basically trying to solve one crisis by starting another one.
But here's the punchline, the incredible irony. To pull off this grand plan, America needs its war machine. But the war machine, the jets, the missiles, the ships, is running on empty because the special ingredients it needs are all controlled by China. It is the perfect catch-22. You can't start the new war because the thing you need to fight it is being held hostage.
And just when you think this whole thing couldn't get any more complicated, another player enters the game with a move that could either be a total game changer or a complete disaster. That's right, Ukraine has entered the chat.
So while Ukraine is literally fighting for its own existence, a massive corruption scandal explodes. A close associate of President Zelenskyy is accused of embezzling a fortune in foreign aid. And the one detail that went totally viral, the one thing people couldn't stop talking about, his friends' bathrooms were apparently made of gold.
Now, keep that image of golden bathrooms in your head and look at this number, $400. That is the monthly salary for a Ukrainian soldier fighting and dying on the front lines. The comparison is just brutal for morale. Imagine you're making $400 a month to risk your life while you're hearing stories about golden bathrooms back home. And the soldier on the other side of the trench, he's making 5 to 7 times more than you are, plus bonuses. It is a recipe for a total collapse in morale. So what does a government do when it's facing that kind of crisis? With his back against the wall, Zelenskyy makes an offer to the United States. He basically says, let us help you with your Russia problem. But it's an offer that comes with a very, very high price,
dragging America even deeper into the whole mess.
Now, while America is tied up in knots and Ukraine is dealing with its own issues, Russia has been focused on one thing, and one thing only: building. Not talking, not negotiating, just building.
And what are they building? Well, among other things, they're building these nightmares. They're called glide bombs. Think of it as Russia's terrifyingly effective recycling program. They're taking old dumb bombs from the Soviet era, strapping on some wings and a cheap guidance system, and suddenly they have cheap, long-range smart weapons that are an absolute disaster to try and shoot down.
And they are on a full-scale production binge. They're reportedly bringing in workers from North Korea to run the factories 24/7. They're not just making thousands of drones, they're aiming for tens of thousands. And they're cranking out thousands of these new glide bombs that can hit targets from hundreds of kilometers away. The plan is simple: just overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers.
And this is where all the pieces come together. Act 5, the final chessboard. You've got America stretched thin, Ukraine demoralized, Russia rearming, and China is sitting back and watching all of it, seeing its long-term strategy fall perfectly into place.
And this might just be the checkmate move, because this isn't just about America's own military anymore. Every single time the US sells its most advanced fighter jet, the F-35, to an ally, it's selling them a hidden dependency. The maintenance, the spare parts, it all traces back to China. It's like China has a secret off switch for America's best and most important weapon.
Look, this was never just a trade dispute. It's a masterclass in strategic exhaustion. Step 1, get the US bogged down in proxy wars all over the world. Step 2, drain their military stockpiles and their money. Step 3, dominate the supply chain for your enemy's own weapons. And Step 4, when they're weak and overextended, prepare for the final showdown over Taiwan.
So, it all leaves you with one pretty big question. In this new global game, who really holds the power? The nation with the most aircraft carriers, or the one that makes the screws? Something to think about.